Prime Minister Keir Starmer just announced mandatory digital IDs. Take a look.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this parliament.
Greetings and welcome back to the channel. If for the first time you're coming across my channel, please remember to subscribe. Also, whatever I said here is not to be taken personally. This is just for informational purposes only. Now that said, today we want to talk about preparing for what is to come. Prepare for what is to come. Why did I say that? See, following the storm blowing in the Caribbean, seeing all the wars and the rumors of wars. Some people believe in the rapture and stuff like that from the book. I believe in preparing for a time that is coming. The time that is mentioned about Mark of the Beast and stuff like that. So we would just want to talk on this topic about preparing for what is to come. Now, in the document of those big boys, I don't want to call name here, but eventually I will start calling name or showing pictures of people. In the document of these big boys, when you see these indicators, know well that you shall start preparing to move into a place where you can prepare yourself for what is to come. Most people in the city can still survive in the city because you don't need a lot. But preferably, if you can find a way to move to somewhere more village-like, or what we call it in the Caribbean, more country-like.
In what's being called Orwellian, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer just announced mandatory digital IDs. Take a look.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
Well, really completely shocked, but also not surprised. Keir Starmer has been a terrible, terrible prime minister right from the beginning. And I've never seen actually the UK population in such uproar against a prime minister in the time that I can remember anyway. So I am not surprised that he's trying to pull something out the bag that will try and get him some popular votes, although it's probably going to be completely the opposite. And if you didn't see, or I don't know if you've touched on this already, but there was a march a couple of weeks ago that had over 1 million people come along to it, which was in protest of these things that he's implementing and the state of how the state of the UK is at the moment with illegal immigration, with just this high kind of control of government. And so there's almost like a revolution going on in the ground in the UK at the moment because people are just sick and tired of these policies that he's implementing.
Well, you know what's interesting is, obviously he made this announcement and he painted it in a way that this would help curb illegal immigration. But a lot of people online are saying, wait a second, you're saying these digital IDs where you won't be able to, buy or sell. Sounds a lot like what we hear in Revelation 13 when it comes to the mark of the beast. People are wondering, is this like a precursor to that? So let me just read what the Bible actually says about that, and then you can draw the dots together if you think they fit. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name.
See, the people that is in government, and I talked about this before, is not elected. They're selected, and they're selected for a particular purpose. And this is why I want to talk to you today about preparation and prepare. Prepare for what is to come. I will play one or two clips and keep quiet, make others talk about what is really happening. Let us go over to the Sky News Australia and listen to that person from over Sky News Australia.
Last week on Outsiders, I mentioned the threat posed to your freedom, and more importantly, the terrifying threat posed to your children's and your grandchildren's future freedoms by a possible government-imposed digital ID. Here's digital ID opponent Whitney Webb warning that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, are desperate for public-private partnerships linked to digital IDs.
Essentially, what this public-private partnership that the WEF is pushing for is for every person's access to the internet to be tied to a digital ID or a government-issued ID, but presumably a digital ID, just because of where government-issued ID programs are all going, essentially around the world.
Now, many skeptics warn that a digital ID is the end of democracy as we know it and an irreversible step into a dystopian future of firstly no cash, just a digital currency controlled by governments, potentially leading to a Chinese-style social credit system where government has the ability to control and restrict every single aspect of your lives, from where you go, how you travel, your healthcare, what you eat, control over your spending habits, a veto over your job prospects, and so on. Here's digital ID and digital currency skeptic and former Wall Street investment banker, by the way, so she knows of what she speaks, Catherine Austin Fitz.
Programmable money doesn't click in and work well unless you've got everybody on the grid. You need to be able to track them. You need to be able to watch their behavior. You need to be able to influence their behavior. And then you've got complete control. And that is not just wearables. That is not just an internet of bodies. That is a coup d'etat. That is the end of human liberty in the West.
On your screen is the World Economic Forum's graph on how a digital ID is central to controlling every part of an individual's life. Financial services, food and sustainability, travel and mobility, e-commerce, social media and telecommunications, it's all there. And of course, every aspect of your healthcare. And what would that look like? Here's CEO of Pfizer speaking not long ago at the World Economic Forum, the WEF, for example, boasting about the latest pharmaceutical digital technology.
Basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet.
Are they kidding? Digital ID schemes potentially give absolute powers of surveillance and control over every aspect of your life to unelected bureaucrats, unscrupulous politicians, and greedy governments and corporations. If you don't think future authoritarian governments of whatever persuasion won't use these powers ruthlessly and mercilessly, then you must have been fast asleep during COVID QR codes and vaccine mandates.
True.
According to an opinion piece in LifeSite News, the reality of digital identity is not about curbing illegal immigration. It has nothing to do with securing jobs, and it most certainly isn't meant to protect youth online. They say digital ID is the linchpin of the United Nations push for a global surveillance state. Indeed, Australia was one of 193 countries that signed up last year under Penny Wong and Anthony Albanese, the United Nations Insidious Pact for the Future, a non-binding pact which says signatory countries will, quote, develop and decide on a set of safeguards for inclusive, responsible, safe, secure, and user-centered digital public infrastructure that can be implemented in different contexts, end of quote. The Chinese mouthpiece, the Global Times, praised the pact, which should be reason enough in itself to run a mile from it. Gushing, quote, as we enter a new era, we face the significant question of what kind of a world we should build and how to build it. End of quote. China has provided an answer, constructing a community with a shared future for mankind. End of quote. Okay, well, we've seen that future that China is so keen to impose on the rest of us, and it's an absolute horror show.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens. The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to 0. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date.
Aman Jabi is a former Silicon Valley video and camera design whiz kid. He's now turned whistleblower on the dangers of where big tech, along with big government, want to take us.
Facial recognition will be used to unlock your digital identity, which is going to be a tool of control for the agendas that are coming down the pipeline.
Elements of that control are already with us.
Alexa, good morning. Good morning.
You are never alone in your home, and this is why. All your devices at home and all smart appliances, they are all connected on a wireless network. When you leave your home,
I'm telling you, sir, this is not a joke. I have experienced this that he's talking about or something similar, where you talk about something, and then when you finish talk, a few minutes later, an advert run on the TV or an advert run on your phone. That means something is listening to you and trying to convince you to purchase something that you just talk about, whether you're ready to buy it or not. So this is way more serious than they're making us to believe.
vehicles are connected to the internet, so your automobile is being tracked all the time. When you're going under a string of smart LED poles and smart LED lights on the highway and in the streets of your towns and cities, those form a wireless network and are tracking your vehicle. They're tracking all the devices on you, from smartphones to smartwatches when you're walking on the streets. So data is being collected 24/7 continuously on every human being whenever you are within these wireless networks. Long term, the plan is to pretty much lock up humanity in smart cities, which is kind of a superset of a 15-minute city. They've sold all the state and local governments and countries that smart cities are about sustainability and the good of the city. But in reality, the language from the UN and WEF and their white papers is all inverted. It's surveillance, control via LED grid is why the smart lighting is there. Water management is about water rationing, noise pollution is about speed surveillance, traffic monitoring is about limiting mobility, and then, of course, energy conservation is all about rationing heat, electricity, and gasoline.
Keir Starmer is currently trying to introduce the UK's digital ID by making it mandatory if you want to work and pretending it will solve Britain's immigration problems. The public aren't buying it. But what could be a better way to trick the public into getting a digital ID than by linking it to restricting under 16-year-olds from social media? Suddenly you're doing the right thing.
And restricting immigration. So that's what they do. They create a cause. They create cause and effect so that they can implement their policy. Because check this. After something happened, which is action, reaction, solution, they create the environment for these things to happen so that they can now implement their idea by saying this is the solution for those reactions. If you get what I'm saying.
The kids. And don't worry if it's a tad inconvenient. What with facial recognition and stuff, You'll soon get used to it.
I believe that over time, facial age estimation, liveness tests, and other forms of age assurance will become normalized as well. Different people at different ages will have different levels of comfort with things like taking selfies or using biometrics or even digital ID. It really varies.
The eSafety Commissioner is about to announce how Australia intends to implement its under 16 social media restrictions. If you hear the words digital identification, biometrics, or facial recognition, you know the fix is in. Surrender to a digital ID and surrender your children's freedom.
And so the people they're mostly afraid of are those that is off grid and not depending on their system. So those are one of the people they will they're mostly afraid of. When you see the times and you check the signs at the times, you will know that these things are happening, and there is a what you'd call it, a fulfillment of certain things. You can see all these things are happening in with the digital ID and things like that, and wars and rumors of wars. And these are the times you should prepare yourself for what is to come. This is the signs of what them call in the book the new world order, etc. When you see worldwide, the world over, when you see the world over, almost all the world is in a position now where the people are accepting what them call digital money and things like that. And this is one of the signs. I talk about it before about how we can prepare ourselves for disaster. This is a type of disaster, and I just wanted to shine some light on it so that you can see that they're not talking about it, and a lot of people not mentioning it because they create these things to distract us while they implement these policies. They talk about it on the news on here in the UK maybe once or twice, and then it disappears. But this is something that is going to affect many people. Actually, it's going to affect all people, and the children are one of those people who they're mostly targeting, because for us that is elder or adult, they're fizzling us out and preparing the kids for this new world order. So in conclusion, I just wanted to bring to your attention on how to prepare for what is to come. Thank you again for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Just a thought. See, there's a projection on what is coming, and the big boys are very concerned with one group and one group only. Which group am I talking about? This group that is set up in a way where they don't really depend on the system. Those people that is off grid.